Hello and welcome to Sass Bites. This is your weekly bite of Sass during your lunch break. I'm your host, Micah Godbolt. We are in week 9 of our Road to SassConf series. We still have a few more. If you aren't familiar, SassConf is November 11th through 14th in Austin, Texas. It's going to be 3 or 4 days. Was it 4 days? 11th to 14th. I can never do math. It's going to be an awesome event with tons of speakers. There's actually workshops that just got announced. You can go check that out at SassConf.com. Tickets are $500. It's an amazing event with tons of great people, and it's so it's going to be a blast down there. So today we have 2 of those speakers on. We're going to be talking with them and talking about what they're going to be presenting at SassConf. The first one is a classically trained fine artist, spent 6 years lecturing and teaching people how to paint, draw, and grow their creativity. She then decided to join the modern world and is now a front-end developer at Rooster Teeth in Austin, Texas. When she's not coding, she likes to paint, sketchnote, travel, and drink absurd amounts of coffee. You belong in Portland, really you do. That's pretty much all we do. Our second guest is a former breakdance instructor and choreographer. We're really stretching the gamut here. He is a UX and UI developer at Augusta Sportswear in Augusta, Georgia, and owns his own web design company called Happy Ninja. He resides in North Augusta with his wife Amanda and enjoys web development, dancing, martial arts, and parkour. I wish your camera was big enough so we could see you doing some parkour. That would be a lot of fun. Anyway, both Jesse and Natalya, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming.
Happy to be here.
Awesome.
Glad to be here as well.
Cool, and still getting a little bit of echo from one of you. So if you want to mute when, I'll do Natalya first, if Jesse you want to mute until we whoa, something just got louder. All right. So what we want to do here is, Natalya, jump into some of your background and your history. How did you get into Sass? What was your first introduction into the Sass language?
So I took the long way around to development, and like you introduced it, I spent a lot of time in the fine arts, painting, squeezing paint out of tubes, teaching people how to do that of all ages, from very young kids to adults. And it really, I got started as early as GeoCities, but in earnest, I found my way back to development when I had to build a website and design a website for summer camps I decided to start. And so, you know, one of the principles that I always have in painting is stop picking colors at random, stop painting things at random. In order to come up with a composition, you really need to have a plan, you need to have an organizational system, you need to have things thought out and be put in the right order, cascade, if you will. And so as I was working in, you know, just CSS, I found myself coming up against those kind of problems. And so when I asked around and somebody said Sass, I found it to be so intuitive and so intentional that anything that gives that kind of intentionality to your work, I haven't looked back since.
Very nice. Yeah. As an artist, yeah, Sass gives you a ton of power with all the different color functions and just be able to, if nothing else, pick variables and be able to set those colors early and not constantly just pick things off of a palette. So I'm sure that was a huge, huge help. So sounds like you're pretty busy outside of your work life. What are some of the things that you do, or things you're involved in, or things that really get you going?
I still have the fine arts within me. I'm actually in California right now, about to sketchnote the CSS DevCon, so lots of doodles will be coming your way on my Twitter. But I also really just like anything that has to do with adventure. I like traveling, snowboarding, rock climbing, things that get me outside as much as possible, and then hanging out with my cats. That's the classic web developer dream.
Living the dream, huh?
Yeah.
So in other travels, have you been to Austin yet, or is this going to be a first?
Well, I'm actually from Austin, and I'm really excited to welcome everyone to my city. The tacos are as good as Elise says, and it's a fantastic place to visit. But right now I'm in California, so I'm doing the traveling thing currently.
No doubt. So in other words, when people are wondering the best taco trucks to go to, the best barbecue to go to, you're the person to talk to.
I will absolutely have very strong feelings on the subject. That and brisket and frozen margaritas and the nicest, sunniest patios to sit in.
Very nice. Well, certainly looking forward to hearing all about that, and also the sketch notes, as I will be seeing you this next week at
Yep.
SassConf. Awesome. So the last thing we want to talk about is your talk at SassConf. Is practical color theory for people who code. Can you give us a kind of a quick intro, what that's going to be about, and why people should come, also who should come?
So this is in the title. It's aimed at people who code, and there are a lot of really great tools out there already. You know, the color pickers and the tools that generate your color schemes, everything like that. But the divide that I keep seeing is that a lot of people still are just picking colors at random and then seeing this disaster happen on their page, and then saying, well, I guess I'm just not an artist. I guess I don't have this, whatever this thing is. And you know, you add in things like, well, colors also make you feel a certain way. They can make you click somewhere or not. And it's this whole ambiguous looking, vague feeling thing. And what I'm doing is bringing in all the old school resources that color theory's been studied, it's been researched, and there's a lot of really factual stuff that developers would love to sink their teeth into, because, you know, I'm not going to be talking about the cultural associations, but what I am going to be talking about is how do you get from one color, when you pick one color, using Sass color functions to make sure all of your colors match and work together in harmony. It's surprisingly logical, and you can have predictable results, and I'm going to have the code ready for you to look at and play with. So it's for developers, it's for designers, and it's all coming from the years of teaching painting, and just gallons of paint mixed, tried methods. So the talk is really going to be about kind of looking under the hood of what happens when color schemes are picked, and trying to erase this huge divide that I keep seeing between designer and developer, because if you're interested in this stuff, people who code can absolutely pick colors.
Awesome. Yeah, I love, I've heard, I can't imagine how many talks I've heard on color, but it never gets old, because there's just so much history, there's so much theory, there's so much background to color, that every time someone brings a new talk, there's something new that comes up, there's something new that comes in, or I just get inspired again to try and get out there and get a little bit better at color management and picking good colors and actually being able to use those properly. So that sounds awesome. Well, so let's sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the most important thing to say about this is everybody's already walking around with this awesome tool. Sass has all these cool color functions that work exactly how you'd expect to have them with your easel, canvas, and traditional media. And I just want to show everybody how you can just pick one.
Cool. Nice. Well, looking forward to that. And also, are you giving a similar talk at CSS DevConf then?
I'm actually just sketchnoting and enjoying the whole thing. So,
even better.
Yeah, I'm going to be listening and just sketchnoting the whole time. So.
Well, that sounds probably like more work than giving a talk.
Probably going to be more involved. Yes, a few more hours of work.
Certainly appreciate you doing it. Let's jump over to Jesse real quick. I want to get through his questions, and then there's a couple things I know we all want to talk about. So Jesse, kind of coming back to you, same question of how did you get into Sass web development? What's kind of your background history there?
Well, my background's definitely a little weirder than most. I was into web development and computers and all that ever since I discovered that the internet was a thing. My mom told me the first day that she came home with a computer, and I don't even know how young, but too young to be on a computer. And she walked in, and I was playing some game on the computer, like solitaire or something, and she was like, "Our computer has games?" And I was like, "Yeah, Mom." And so I loved computers since a very young age. Well, then as I got, and learned about GeoCities and Angelfire and all that good stuff. Well, once I moved on into kind of my high school and college career, it turned out that I became a breakdancing instructor. And
as one does, it just happens.
Yeah, as one tends to do. I became a breakdance instructor, and we kind of, I traveled around, did a whole bunch of choreography as well as freestyling, judging, all kinds of cool stuff like that. And while I was out doing all that, I wanted to make a website for myself, and also as I made one for myself, my friends were who had crews and stuff like that would be like, "Hey, make one for our crew" and stuff. So I kind of that's how I kind of got into it. It was out of necessity, really. and out of a desire to have those resources available to us. And because we can't build our own clientele, couldn't build a following or a fan base, because especially a little earlier on, things like Facebook and Twitter, you couldn't get the following quite as easily back then. Nowadays, you know, half people don't even have websites nowadays. Half of them are just like, oh, we'll just have a Facebook page. So that's kind of how I got into web development in general. And then as I fell in love, got married, settled down, I was like, oh, I guess I should get a big boy job now. And I actually worked at an Apple store for a while I was continuing to develop my own skills. And while I was there, I went through, I think at last count, I've been through over like 300 hours worth of training on things like lynda.com and stuff like that. So entirely self-taught, never went to college or anything like that. And to go to lots of conferences and cool things. During that time, I first discovered Sass very recently, actually, just a couple of years ago. And I immediately thought it was really cool because it kind of reminded me of a lot of the things that we would even do within the dance world as far as chunking and compartmentalizing and modularizing. And I thought that was just really cool, but I didn't know a whole bunch about it until actually just this last year when I went to Converge SE in Columbia, South Carolina. And actually Mina Markham there gave an awesome talk about Sass. And from that day, I was wrapped with attention at that point and just took all kinds of notes. And since then, as she says, I've been smacking up my Sass and been using it constantly, and it's been awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I love just everyone's story, you know, how they get to where they are. Web development's got some of the best. I mean, and there's kind of a similar theme there, whether you're in a band or you're in a breakdancing group or whatever the case is, or if you're putting on camps, you know, out of necessity, you know, you build these things, and as soon as you do, someone else is like, can you do that for me too? And it just spirals and spirals and spirals. So, so outside of your day job, which you're a developer at Sportswear, Augusta Sportswear. Cool. So I guess we kind of know that you do some dancing. What are some of the stuff that you do that we don't know about yet? What's the secret dirt?
Let's see. I'm an avid martial artist. I take martial arts to 3 or 4 times a week, so maybe 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that. A combination of Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun, and Capoeira, which is kind of a breakdancing martial art look. It's Eddie Gordo off of Tekken 3, if you've ever played Tekken. I also like knife throwing, playing chess, Rubik's Cubes. I have a lot of weird hobbies, but mostly I like spending time with my wife and just kind of hanging out at home with her.
I'm sure she likes that answer as well. Good job.
In case she watches this later.
So this definitely all kind of comes down to the title of your talk, which is Websites and Breakdancing. How in the world did you come up with this, and what are people in for when they come to your talk?
Well, websites and breakdancing, I figured whenever I submitted that talk it would get some attention anyway, because I was thinking what would interest me if I was at a conference, and I was like, if I saw something that said like websites and skydiving or something like that, I would immediately go to that. So I figured that'll probably work. It's going to highlight kind of my journey from basically a breakdancer into being a web developer. And one of the things that I learned as I made this career transition was that no matter what you've done, no matter what your experiences are in life, there are a lot of things that you can bring from other areas of your life into your career as a web developer. You know, a lot of people, when they ask, you know, where did you, I know we all get the question, where did you learn how to do this? Where did you learn how to build websites? And a lot of people's answer are things like college or, you know, online tutorials. I like to go with the streets. I learned on the streets, and of course that makes people laugh, and then I tell them I actually learned on lots of tutorials and stuff too. But a lot of what I learned, you know, even in let's say design itself, the creativity necessary to facilitate those designs, a lot of that was done whenever I was doing choreography. You know, learning how to things like groupings and formations, spacing, even color. You know, the way that we would, you know, even do our costumes and things like that, and mix them with lights on stage. You know. A lot of that kind of translated over. The modularization that Sass brings, you know, a lot of people have this idea that a dancer, break dancer, a popper, locker, or even ballerina, whatever it is, they have this idea that they just get out there and just start dancing with no plan. But that's actually not what it is. We all have these compartmentalized chunks of things that we do, and we kind of combine them on the fly as we're listening to the music and see what works. Nobody just like literally listens to the lyrics of the song and makes it up as they go. Now you might do that for one or two small parts, but mostly you've got this compendium of moves that you've kind of collected over the years, and as you get out there, you just pull from that repertoire as you see fit. And that's really cool, because that's kind of what Sass will let us do. You have this preset of this massive amount of functions and variables that you can pull from. And then the final thing that I think really I use a lot is the user experience side of things. And you really learn about user experience when you have to create a dance and you have to make something that's fun for the kids, not overly provocative because the parents will kill you, and exciting and technical enough that the judges are going to like it. So when you're learning, you have all these different groups you're trying to please at once. It's very similar to the different segments and users that you have to deal with even in web design, and whenever you're trying to please your boss and the users and the next developer who has to come in and work on this.
So you're writing your user stories as a parent of a dancing child.
How would I feel about those booty shorts she's wearing?
Yeah.
Like, nope, don't like those. let's put on sweatpants.
Nice. So we had a little talk before we started up here, and I think the sentiment that came around, really common actually between all three of us, is the experience that we bring coming into web development it has a major impact on the way that we're able to learn and to grow and to build and to do the work that we're doing. So I know, Jesse, we were talking about how even learning how to put the colors of your costumes and lighting on the stage helped you to kind of understand how to put those colors together. And Natalya, we were talking a little before as well. What were some of those big things that your fine art training brought in? What are some of those things that really impacted the way that you're able to work?
Well, one of the things that I can think of from fine art is, actually, I'm going to use that second, because the first thing that comes up is always my background in education and psychology, and that's just how we approach situations where we have to learn something that's beyond our reach, how to seek out mentorship, and how to react to those situations where we'll either feel like we're going to burn out, or where we're faced with something that's uncomfortable and unknown. So that relates to art as well, how to face something like a blank canvas with the color theory talk, because that's usually the point where people are turned away. They'll pick a color, they feel pretty good about it, they pick a second color, and all of a sudden it comes crashing down, and they say, never mind, that's not for me, and I guess I'm not one of the creative people, and they defer to someone else, even if that's a burning passion of theirs. So it's, from the art world, it's how to take something as vulnerable, as exposed, as creating something visible for the entire world to see, and innovate to still do something out of the ordinary, and to push forward even when it feels scary. Because one of the things I say in my talk is that there's no compiler, there's no tests failing if your colors, if they clash. There's just nothing stopping you from making terrible decisions with color and everybody seeing it. And so it's a very intimidating thing, and facing it has been, I'm very grateful for my experiences in the art world and education, just facing the unknown and owning that whole process.
Yeah, that's the challenge, is that the code that we write, I mean, we know if it works or not. We know things show up, and does my thing look the same as the Photoshop document? Yes, we're good. But on the design aspect, it's that fear of, is that thing that I built going to actually pass muster when some person comes to site and looks at it? Are they actually going to like it? There's no test for that. There's no way to know for sure that this thing that you built and created is actually going to be liked by somebody else. I know for me, that's probably the reason that code is so much more comfortable, is you don't have to go out on that limb and create something and get that feedback from so many people.
That being said, though, the design principles are that the part that I'm trying to do in my talk is that there are a lot of things you can do that will very much help people like your things. There are some principles that if you stick to them, most likely it'll work out for you. And so there are some safer areas like that we developers also really enjoy.
Well, that's good to know. We're not completely on our own to just
there are rules.
Throw stuff at the wall and hope that it actually works.
Yes.
And then Jesse, for you, are you going to do some dancing on stage? I mean, that's my burning question.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think I'm allowed to have a talk called Websites and Breakdancing and then just not dance on stage. I figured that would probably get me banned from all future conferences.
1 star, did not dance.
Yeah.
I came here for 2 things, websites and breakdancing, and I was disappointed.
Yeah, I only got 50% of the way, so I might get 2.5 stars since I deliver half.
Well, awesome. Thanks both of you for coming on the show today, for bringing just an incredible, diverse experience and knowledge to this conference. It's going to be really neat to see all these talks come together, all that great Texas food, and apparently porches to sit on, and you drink your frozen margaritas. Is that what you said?
Yes, the conference is on the east side, which is the hip place to be in Austin, so I'm really excited to share that bit of Austin culture with everyone. I'm probably going to be way too excited when everyone arrives. Try this taco, that coffee, not this coffee. So it's a really great place, and I can't imagine this conference being anywhere else this year because it's going to be really great.
I'm super excited for tacos, I have to tell you.
There's breakfast tacos, lunch tacos, dinner tacos. We'll cover the whole
thing. Tacos? 3 a.m. tacos?
Yep.
Tacos all day long. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will be back next week with a couple of more guests as we continue on this road. We've just got a couple weeks left as November is right around the corner. So grab your tickets if you haven't already done that. Check out the workshops on SassConf.com if you're interested in those as well. There's an additional charge, but I think they're 6-hour workshops. It should be a great deep dive into some really good topics. So check that out. Catch us next week. Thanks again for coming, and we will see you all later. Bye.